the discussion that we began on the beauty of holiness and what that actually is. And I want to say, of course, that sometimes I forget to do this, but of course, if you would, I'm not sure, but we want to welcome those who are joining us, wherever medium they are joining us through, Facebook Live, Periscope, wherever you are. Joining us, we appreciate you being a part with us and sharing with us. More and more and more, we are receiving testimonial because, everything that the Father causes us to do is with purpose, and it should have the impact that He's intended for it to have. And so more and more in different realms and areas and places, we are hearing testimony of how several people are impacted by what happens on Facebook Live and through the Periscope or conference call, or however it is set forth. And we're definitely appreciative to that. I'm really glad to know that people's hearts and minds are changing to understand the truth more clearly. And of course, when you set out, of course, to be responsible, because I'll tell you this, the commitment that I made to the Father some time ago, I thought about different individuals over the course of history, and I thought about the impact that they had in the time that they lived, and that includes the believers that we read about in the scriptures. And as we look at the impact that they had on the earth, I was thinking about those individuals, thinking about people that were rose up during slavery time and all that stuff in the country. And I thought about, those individuals that compared and said, if I were alive then, what would I be doing? The different individuals. And so that was some that I kind of thought in my mind, well, maybe, and I started noticing that was a pattern out of the people that I was saying that I probably would be doing what they were doing. It was the same type of pattern. I said, okay. And so I made the commitment to the Father out of that thought process that I would utilize the tools instruments that He's given me. And one of the tools, instruments He's given me is a voice. And that is the voice to speak the truth. And it kind of connected with me when I read the passage of scripture about John, John, who was out in the wilderness. And the way it was described of him was he was a voice in the wilderness, saying, prepare the way. And so as I meditated upon that, I said, okay, Father, that's the reality. That's what you want. You want voices of truth that are speaking and declaring the reality, so that people's eyes and understanding can be open and they can be enlightened. So to all of you who joined and faithfully joined the Facebook Live, we appreciate that. I want to also put this before you and have it in prayer. The Father's kind of put something in my heart that I'm going to be doing in the next coming months. We'll be spending some time just kind of, before the Father listens to His direction. He's already given us what Psalm 96. We talked a little bit last week, and hopefully you had the opportunity to look at those other passages of Scripture concerning those other passages of Scriptures concerning the beauty that the fellow by the name of Lucifer possessed, and who he was, what he looked like, and how he got lifted up in himself. And I'm going to show you through the help of the Holy Spirit the parallels and why the adversary is so intrigued with causing people through his influence. Because I tell you, I say all the time, he really does not have power. He really does not have true power. Meaning in the sense that he has ability, but he does not have the other aspect of power unless it has been granted to him by man. He does not have true power, which means he does not really have authority. The only realm that he possesses any type of authority in is the world system. Okay? Because he is deemed as the ruler of this world system. And I want you to understand something about this world system. The world system is not anything that could ever be great.
Amen.
Okay? There is nothing great about the world system, not by definition of what the scriptures call great. Okay? When the Father spoke to Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, when he spoke to him and said, I'm going to make your name great, he was not speaking of anything worldly. Okay? There is a level and definition of greatness that the world system has that we do not share the same definition that the world system has of greatness, because in the world system's definition of greatness, it is all about self and you and your showing forth you. Okay? It's all about you, me. It's selfishness that drives the world system. People who are very ambitious for the development of themselves to the point to where they have to outshine everything else and everybody else. That is almost by definition greatness. It plays into what we understand through the scriptures as vanity. I forget the young lady's real name. Her first name is Denise, but I forget her full name. But she played her stage name for a long time was Vanity. She actually passed away February of last year, 2016, I believe. She passed away. Her name was Denise, but she played the character, or like her stage name was Vanity. That was the embodiment of who she was, her characterization. Later on, she turned around and gave her life, of course, to the Father, and started living a different life. And there is a video that I saw of her testimony that she was talking about all of the demonic things that she was experiencing and all the stuff that, she got into, and how she was really depressed and really suicidal, and, all these different things like that. If you've never seen the video, I encourage you to watch the video, because it was really, really intriguing, some of the things that she said, and some of the things she was talking about really made sense because of who she was. She was one of these people who you would think had the best that the world had to offer. She had beauty, according to their definition. She had success. She had popularity. She was very well known. She acted in a bunch of movies, in a bunch of video, all this kind of stuff like that she was doing. So she was pretty much reaching this apex, this top ranking and foul of the world system. Don't turn it out, of the world system. And as she was reaching within that, in those heights and attaining those heights, what was happening is she was continually losing the true identity of herself and who she was, because the world was offering her all these different things, but at the same time was swallowing up the best that she really was. Okay? And what I hope to grasp or to gain out of this discussion that we're having about the beauty of holiness is that we would finally get to the place where believers, or those of us who are part of his special, precious people would understand that our definition of beauty and all these different things like that has to be in alignment with what his definition of it is, lest we find ourselves buying into what the world says is beautiful and what the world says is such and such, and we will start to conform to a particular image. When we start looking at the definition of some of these words, I've been able to grasp them by the original language and some study, you will find out that our original state, okay, was Eden, very more properly pronounced Aden. Okay, the word Eden or Aden in the popular vernacular, by definition, when you understand it, it was not speaking of a grove of trees and plants. That was the garden. Okay, that's why that is defined as the garden. Okay, garden, definitely the garden, the trees, the vegetation, the animals, the plants, all that kind of stuff like that, the rivers and the waters. The garden was definitely a physical spot, location. Okay? So Eden, more or less, describes that the original, or gives us the concept that we were originally created in our natural environment was the presence of the Most High. Okay? We were made, because in some people's mind, what we do to live in accordance with his plan, with his word, with his will, to live in his presence, to the world standard, is something that is weird, strange, abnormal, in a sense. To those who are perishing, it is weird, it's strange, abnormal. But the reality is that we never find true normal unless we are in his presence. Because man was originally created to live in and abide in his presence. And the garden represented the resource that was available to us in his presence. Okay? Because he was the source. He was the source of our nourishment. He was the source. And you look at the different descriptions of the rivers. It talks about the gold, how the gold and all these different stones and all that stuff like that. The resource was 100% provided without worry, without stress, and without strain, because we were in his presence. Note that once man sinned, they now had to be rejected or ejected out of the resource that was provided. Because now what you have done is you chose something else over being in his presence. So now you had to be kicked out. And now you could no longer experience that. Now everything you got will be by the sweat of your brow and all that kind of stuff like that. You would experience that. All right? So, when you go into the layer of understanding that we were made, watch this. And if I may say it like this, holiness, because I'm still talking about the beauty of holiness, holiness is man's original state. Okay? When we get a little bit further, it won't be today, but we'll get a little bit further. We'll read in the scriptures. As a matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and give you a little bit of snippet of that. Okay. When he talks about those of us who give or accept the covenant with the Most High, there's a reason why he speaks to us in the language that says that you're a new creation. Okay? In one place, Shaul makes a reference and he says, we are his workmanship. Watch this. Recreated in Messiah. And then he talks about the things that we should do because we have been recreated. There's a discussion about, in the scriptures, the word regeneration, or if I say it properly, to break down what the word is, it is regeneration. Okay? Generation is there, within that word, that he actually does something within us, to us, that he completely makes us an entire new individual, entire new person, which is what brings us to the place where now we can actually experience that which is beyond what may have been in our genetic code up until that point, that when we embrace him and go fully into who he has made us to be, everything, even in our genetics, can be affected. It's beautiful, y'all. It is so beautiful. But anyway, In Psalm 90, well, let's go to Psalm 29 2 first, and then we'll come back to Psalm 96. Okay? Psalm 29, look, verse number 2. I want to kind of get into this so I can have time to get into some of these definitions. Psalm 29, look at verse 1. It says the Psalm of David. Give the Most High his due. You who are godly, give him his due, watch this, of glory and strength. Give the Most High the glory due his name. Watch this. And then your Bible should say worship him in the beauty of holiness, right? Okay. Now watch this. My Hebrew text says worship him or worship the Most High in holy splendor. Use the term Adonai, okay, which pretty much, I don't want to really get into the definition, all the full definition of that, but basically he's the supreme ruler, okay, above all. Adonai being a term that was developed in some respects. It was not a name of his. It is not a name of his. It is a reference that people was developed to kind of give almost like a description of where he was as ruler, supreme ruler. Okay, when you study Adonai, you'll see what that means. Okay, so it says pretty much, your King James Bible will say worship in the beauty of holiness. My Hebrew Bible says worship him in holy splendor. All right, now turn to Psalm 96 and we'll look at verse 4. Psalm 96 and verse 4. Let's see, because it's going to be something that you're going to pick up here in a pattern. Okay, Psalm 96. Verse 4 says, for Adonai is great, or he is great, and greatly to be praised. Okay? He is to be feared more than all little small g gods. Okay? For all the little small g gods of the people are idols. Okay? So basically, what he's pretty much saying, all of the gods, little g, okay, of the people are idols. Amen. Okay? Idolatry, vanity, all these different things are related to one another. Okay? Because what you will discover about idolatry, and I think I've said this before, but for the sake of our discussion, I want to repeat. What you will understand about idolatry and the truth of idolatry, at the root of idolatry, is not necessarily the worship of the object or the thing or the person. At the root of idolatry is the worship of yourself. Okay? Which is why, as I've pointed out time and time again, most idols actually take on the resemblance or the look of the people that actually worship them. I discovered that Buddha actually has two different representations, or he looks two different ways. Depending on the geographical territory that you're in. If you're in one place, he looks more Asian. If you're in another place, he looks more like a different race of people. Because whenever they erected these statues and all that stuff, you look at all the gods and goddesses in Greek mythology, they all take on this similitude or likeness of the people that actually were worshiping them. Because really what an individual is doing is worshiping themselves and just kind of reprojecting that onto another object. Okay? But idolatry really is the worship of yourself at the root. Okay? So he says all the other gods, this is why he makes it for all the gods of the people are idols. Okay? So he says, but Adonai made the heavens. Watch this. In his presence are honor and majesty. In his sanctuary is strength and splendor. In his sanctuary, strength and splendor. So you will see that as King James used the word holiness, the Hebrew more refers to splendor or glory or this beautiful thing. So if you're taking some notes, let's go to, if you're taking some notes, the word holiness in Hebrew is spelled Hadar, Okay? That would be pronounced Hadara. Hadara. Okay? In Hebrew. Now, this is what it's going to mean. It means, check this out, y'all. Splendor, as we keep seeing here in this passage. It means goodly. Okay? Watch this. It means glory and honor. That which is glorious, that which is honorable, that which is full of splendor, or beauty, that which is goodly. Okay? Now watch this. So when he's telling us to worship him in the beauty of holiness, basically what he's telling us to do is to, because here's the other part. Write these words down too. Favor, and then put in parentheses to put forth. Okay? Because what he's pretty much saying, when they're saying worship in the beauty of holiness, and before I give you the definition, let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 20. Because we wanna dig into all these little passages here. 1 Chronicles chapter 20. Okay? 1 Chronicles chapter 20. See, what happens is we have to get to the point where we no longer buy into what the world says this is. Because if we buy into what the world says this is, whatever you buy into that the world says it is, watch this, you get to the point that you cannot do without it. Because you don't think you have it if you don't have what they say goes along with it. Okay? And more and more and more and more and more, we go deeper in vanity. Watch this. And more and more and more and more, the world in the confusion. Watch the confusion of it all. More and more and more and more, you can get more and more fake stuff to demonstrate fake beauty while you keep talking about being real.
Amen. That's true.
How confusing is that? Okay? One comedian was making a reference. She said, I don't understand these women. They got fake nails, they got fake eyelashes, they got fake this and fake that, but they want a real man. She says, what's wrong with you? How you want a real man and you giving them all the fake stuff you have to offer? See, here's the reality. Vanity really is what fake is. It's not real. It's made up.
Wow.
That's what it is. Why do you think they call that stuff makeup? Because it's made up. It's not. It's presenting something that is not a reality. It is not real. Okay? It is creating a visual, but the visual that you see is not real, because once all that is stripped off, what is real does not look, right? It's makeup. Makeup, make believe, it's all the same thing. Okay? So, I don't want to get no texts and emails and inbox. Why are you talking about my makeup? I'm not saying that. I'm going to clarify just in a minute, all right? Let's not go crazy. Although, in this culture, more and more and more, makeup is becoming an idol. Makeup is becoming an idol. In this culture. Absolutely 100%. I'm not even questioning that it is. All right? When you get to the point where there's something you have to have and you can't function without it, that's the problem.
Yeah.
The only thing that you should not be able to function without is the natural state that you were in, which is the presence of the Most High. That's why the psalmist says to us, in his presence, there is a fullness of joy.
Amen.
Because the fullness of joy can only be experienced in your natural state. Now watch this. Let me just give you this. If you are living outside of his presence, you are living in an abnormal environment. Watch this. Because the pattern that he set for creation was that he created first an environment. And then he created the thing that was supposed to go into that environment. Here was the firmament. Here was the sky. And then he made the birds that were supposed to operate and function in the sky. Here's the water. Here's divided the water from the land. And he divides the water from the land. And then he puts animals that's supposed to be in the environment on the land, and animals that's supposed to be in the environment of the water, in the water. Now, Only the ones that's supposed to be on the land can kind of go back and forth. But even they have to get out of the water at some point and go back to the land.
Amen.
Okay? Because everything first was given an environment to dwell in, and then he put it there, which is why the last thing he made, after he planted this garden, the last thing he made was he says, now you know what? I'm going to make this man, and then I'm going to put him right here and say, look, I need you to be in my presence. Why do you think he was visiting him in the cool of the evening? Why was he visiting him? Because he was saying your natural environment is, you function right when you're in my presence.
Amen.
So watch this. What you have to understand is that holiness, check this out. Holiness does not make me weird, awkward, strange. Holiness actually brings me back into my original environment that I was made to be in and causes me to function according to who I have really been made to be. That's what holiness does for me. That's why he gave me. So watch this. Could you understand that holiness, watch this, because as I said before, at one point in history, holiness was just presented as this thing, and whenever people talk about holiness, people always saw this restriction and this, oh my gosh, you know, they can't, holy people, they can't. That was the image that was presented. But in reality, what holiness really is supposed to do is holiness, watch this, is attractive.
Amen.
Holiness is very attractive. It brings me to a place, okay. Stop. Let's read this passage. I'm getting carried away. Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 20. Okay. Look at verse chapter 20. No. 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 29. It'll be 2 Chronicles chapter 20. 1 Chronicles chapter 16, look at verse 29. Well, back up, verse 25. Watch this. Now, didn't we just read in the Psalms that he is great and greatly to be praised? Okay. Well, look in 1 Chronicles chapter 16, look at verse 25. What do you say?
For great is Adonai.
And greatly what?
To be praised.
The exact same thing, right? Greatly to be praised. He is to be feared more than all gods. Same thing, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. For all, watch this. Now, your King James Bible in the Psalm, when he says that we just read, I think it was Psalm 96, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, he says all of the gods of the people are idols, right? Yes, now listen to what he says in 1 Chronicles. Watch what he says. He says, for he is to be feared among all gods, for all the gods of the people are nothing. Nothing. Okay? So, but he made the heavens. In his presence are honor and majesty. In his place, strength and joy. Watch this. Give Adonai his due, you families from the peoples. Give him his due of glory and strength. Watch this. Give him the glory due to his name. Bring an offering and come into his presence. Worship him in splendid holy attire. Tremble before him, all the earth. The world is firmly established, immovable. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let them say among the nations, the Most High is King. Now watch this, y'all. Wait, one more. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Let me read that before I get into this statement. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. That's really how you say it. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. All right. Now, look at verse 20. The next morning, they rose early and went out into the Tekoa desert. As they left, Jehoshaphat stood and said, listen to me, Yehuda and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Trust in Adonai, or trust in the Most High, your God, and you will be safe. Trust in his prophets, and you will succeed. Watch this. After consulting with the people, He appointed those who would sing to the Most High. Watch this. And praise what? And praise the splendor and the beauty of his holiness. The splendor of his holiness. Watch this. As they went ahead of the army, saying, give thanks to the Most High, for his grace continues forever. Or his mercy endures forever. His mercy endures forever. So watch this. Here was Jehoshaphat in the middle of a situation where they wanted to attack. You already know what was going on. And you know what happened is that they had to send Judah before them, and Judah was to praise. Watch this. Judah was specifically told to praise the splendor or the beauty of holiness. Yeah. We're told in the Psalms, worship him in the beauty of holiness. Praise him in the beauty of holiness. We're steady saying, praise him, worship him in the beauty of holiness. It is always redirected. Check this out, to the beauty of holiness. Now, on this point, let me ask a question. Because in certain church culture, one of the things that I've seen happen is we somehow even handle just something as simple as praise and worship like a concert, in a sense, whereby I don't really move, I don't really sing unless I'm hearing my favorite song. Or unless, it sounds good to me. When in reality, it's not really so much about the worship sounding good to us or the praise sounding good to us. It's really all about, because here's the reality. While people hear the sound of your lips, the Father hears the sound of your heart. Okay? He hears the sound of your heart. And what our praise offering should be, since it's an offering to him, since it is an act of worship to him. Watch this. Now, I don't believe that we offer him anything haphazardly. I don't believe that we offer, because there's a song that tells us to play skillfully. All right? And then we have to understand that sound did not come from the adversary. Sound came from the Father. Okay? And there's a reason why I believe that he created and he made sound, and he made pleasant sound, and he made things to sound pleasant. Okay? So I don't want to discount the sound, the pleasure of sound. I don't want to discount someone offering something to the Father in excellence. I don't want to do that, because his name is excellent. Amen. All right? So we just have to really understand that. But the offering the praise offering that we give to him is really something that should be pleasing to him, because believe me, there are some things that are pleasing to our ears that are not pleasing to him. Amen. All right? So now watch this. Let's put these words together, okay? We talked about splendor. We talked about that disability. Talked about glory, we talked about honor, favor, and then we said to put forth. Now check this out. When he's saying to worship him in the beauty of holiness, he's pretty much saying that what we are putting forth, watch this, is who he is. What is supposed to, now when we see in Peter says, you're a royal priesthood, you're a holy nation, you're a peculiar people, and check the language. He says that you should show forth the praises of him who have brought you out of darkness and into his marvelous light. Okay, that's over in 2 Peter. He says, this is who you are. You are what? A royal priesthood, right? A holy nation, a peculiar people, and you are to show forth what? The praises. What are you supposed to be putting forth? You are supposed to be putting forth praises, honor, glory, that which is glorious, that which is honor. Now watch this. In return for what you put, when you put him forth, right? In return, what he does is reward you, and he allows you to be put forth, which by definition is favor. So holiness really is the root of where we find favor, because here's the truth. Here's the truth, y'all. Y'all remember the story of Esther, or called Esther, whose name was Hadassah? When the opportunity came, y'all know Vashti and her pride, her arrogance would not come, so she was executed. So the king was looking for another wife. Esther, Hadassah, who was put in this place where now she was going to get the opportunity to actually be, presented before the king as possibly a maiden. We know all the purifications and all the stuff that they went through. Watch this. They spent a whole year getting ready for one day. Now, that's a message in that. They spent a whole year getting ready for one day. In other words, they spent a long time getting ready for one moment. Don't you realize that's what our life is supposed to be when it relates to the King? That we're supposed to spend a long time getting ready for one moment. And that is the moment that we stand before him, who is our King. So, in other words, those girls, they got themselves ready. They went into the king's treasury. They went and got, some of the girls, when they went into the treasury, they grabbed all the stuff that they could get. Right? When you read the story, they went in there and just grabbed a bunch of stuff. I mean, some of them just grabbed armloads. Because he told them, when you go into the treasury, they can grab armloads or whatever they want. It's theirs to have. All these maidens. Now, Esther, Hadassah, her real name, what she did was she went to one of the personal servants of the king, Haggai. Went to him and said, hey, I have a question. You know the king. So since you know the king, I have a question to ask you. In this treasury of things that I can pull from, because here's a big lesson. Let me pinpoint right here. Here's a big lesson that we can learn from those maidens that went into the treasury and got all the stuff that they're on to carry. What you have to understand is that really was a test. Okay? Because here's the truth. The king knows all the stuff that is his. It's his possession. Okay? And you cannot impress the king with something that belongs to him. That's on you. Because it would not be on you if he had not granted you, right, the opportunity and the privilege to have it upon you. So then, if you take what he has put upon you and then you present it before him to try to impress him with it, then he's like, So she asked, in this treasury, what, and I use that king there, what does the king, or what does the king like? What is the king like? And in his presentation of what the king liked, he told her, he said, this is what you need to get. And she had a whole treasury to select from. But she only took the thing that, without a doubt, pleased the king. It's the only thing she took. Because she realized, I have to stand before him. And if I'm going to be pleasing to him, all the other ornamentation and all that stuff won't make any difference. I just want to make sure that when I appear before him, pleasing him. And she wasn't just asking what pleases the king on the physical surface. She was asking the servant, what brings him pleasure? What is he actually looking for? What is important? Watch this. Her thought process was what was important to the king. The other maidens demonstrated that maybe what was important to them is just having the opportunity to be queen. But what was important to her was what was pleasing to the king. Not what was pleasing to her, but what was pleasing to the king. So she is the only one by record who inquired of a personal servant. Come on. A personal servant of the king. A personal servant of the king. She inquired of the personal servant of the king what pleases him. Do y'all realize that we have access to a personal servant of the king? And we can inquire and we can ask him, how can we please the Father? And he will tell us how we can please the Father. Isn't he, Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit, personal servant of the king. Doesn't have his own agenda, doesn't speak of himself. He only speaks that which has been commanded. Sounds like a personal servant of the king. Personal servant of the king who can speak to us and who can give us clarity on what pleases the king. And if we would heed his words, then what we would be doing is we would see that putting forth the king, putting forth his, seek ye first. We putting forth, because here's the reality. When he says praise him in the splendor of his holiness, or the beauty of his holiness, when he says worship him in the beauty of his holiness, praise is an act of worship. But you have to understand that worship is more than singing, and worship is more than dancing, and worshiping is more than just the stuff that we do within the sanctuary. Worshiping is an entire presentation of my life. Now check this out. Let's look at this Hebrew word worship. For worship. check that for me. The Hebrew word for worship is S-H-A-C-A-H. S-H-A-C-H-H. Well, sorry. S-H-A-C-A-H. Watch this, y'all. This indicates to... Okay, wait a minute. Let's go to praise, because praise is in Hebrew halal, or watch this, halal, or in some references halal, right? Which is why when we say halal or hallelujah, okay, what we are saying is praise to the Most High. Okay, that's why Yah is there, not J-A-H, Y-A-H. Hallelujah. Okay, so when we're saying praise, we're pretty much saying praise the name of the Most High, the Almighty Yah. That's what we're saying when we say hallelujah. Okay? And at some point, I'll be able to break down a little bit further why his right. All right? So watch this. So hala or hallelujah or hala means to shine. Watch this. Or to show, watch, or to boast. Okay? That's what it means to praise. To shine, to show, and to boast. Shine, show, and boast. You are the light of the world. City set up on a hill. Light cannot be hid. So you are to shine. You are to show forth. You are to shine. You are to show forth. Shine. Show forth. Now, while you're shining, okay, it's not your shine. Okay? One of your best references to this is it's actually in nature. We learn a lot from what we know as nature. One of your best references to this is in nature. Moon does not have its own light. Okay? The only reason why we see the moon is because the moon is illuminated by light, but the moon does not produce its own light. The light that is on the moon is the light that is coming from the sun. Okay? And what the moon does is the moon acts, of course, first to absorb or first to embrace, in a sense, the light that is coming from the sun, and then take that light, okay, which is why it's called a lesser light in Genesis, take that light now and reflect it back to the earth. So although the moon is there, called a lesser light, it is called a lesser light because it does not produce its own light. And it will never, no matter how much, if we could say, if the moon could have a desire, no matter how much the moon would desire to be the sun, the moon could never be the sun. The moon could never replace the sun. Okay? All the moon can do is reflect the light that is coming from the sun. We see among the nations. Glory. It was in there, right? Holy.
Yes, sir.
Hurrah. Hurrah. Glory among the nations. Declare his glory among the nations. And what he does is in turn, he now, because watch this. We know what the sun is, but we also know what the moon is. The moon, we can say that it's the moon. Right? The moon does not change from being the moon. The moon is still the moon. But we know what the moon is. But the reason why we know what the moon is because the moon stands in the light of the sun. And then shows that light to us on the planet. Okay? So watch this. Just like that, what we're supposed to do is we are supposed to show forth. Now, when you go to pray, when you go to worship, because see, again, praise is an act of worship. Praise finds its root in worship. Worship being the entirety of my life presentation. Present your body, let me sacrifice. So worship being the whole of myself presented to the Most High. Now, the word I gave you in the Hebrew, watch this. It means to fall down or depress or humiliate. Now, what we know of, I don't want to look at the negative connotation in the English language of the word depression, okay? Because the reality is that depression has a lot to do with these harnessed negative emotions, okay, that have been built up. And really what is happening is that which is negative is actually causing or suppressing or depressing that which is positive. So you almost cannot see from a positive angle. You almost cannot see a positive light if you have been depressed. But in this sense, it's not talking about that. What it is talking about is depressing my personage. In other words, in him, because when it talks about worship, it's talking about falling down. Matter of fact, one reference said to fall down flat. Okay? That it's falling down flat. It is depressing who I am while I exalt who he is.
Amen.
Okay? Which is something I'm supposed to do not just at the fellowship. It means that in everything I do in my life presentation, again, I told y'all these scriptures are all about how we're supposed to treat him, how we're supposed to treat each other, how we're supposed to treat ourselves, right? So in my presentation to him of my life, it means that in every area, aspect, every relationship, what I'm going to do is I'm going to humble myself and exalt, watch this, exalt his will and his principle by definition above my own. So watch this. When it comes to the position that he stands or the position that he holds in my life or in my standing with him, before him I do not stand. Before him I fall flat. Before him he is the one who is exalted. I am the one who I think John said it like this: I must decrease that he may increase. Okay? I must decrease in order that he may increase. In other words, John, you have to understand who he was. Yochanan, John was a forerunner. John came and he presented. You know, he was born just a little bit before Messiah was. Just a little bit before he was. Okay? And so he goes as a forerunner. He starts to tell people, prepare the way. Y'all, you read the scripture, you see that Yochanan, John had disciples, okay, that followed after him. Okay, so he knew. And then when you read in the book of John, when we talk about in the beginning was the word was with him, the word was him, it goes down a little bit further and it talks about the fact that John said that, you know, he came to bear witness of, he wasn't the light, but he came to bear witness of the light. Said that light was the light of men. So when he came on the scene, he said, now I know y'all will hear me because I've been the voice of the one in the wilderness crying, prepare you the way. But I'm not preparing the way for myself. I'm preparing the way for someone who is coming after me. As a matter of fact, he says, I know y'all think a lot of me, those who follow after me. He said, but the one who's coming after me, I'm not even worthy to unlatch his shoestrings or unlatch or unstrap his sandals. And when you think about the context of unstrapping sandals, it would have been a lowly servitude. So basically, he's saying, I'm not worthy to even do the least thing that a servant could do for him. I'm not worth anything compared to him. So basically, he was saying, I'm only here to announce his arrival. I'm only here to make sure that you understand. I want you to repent and turn away from your sins. I'm only getting you to the place where you can repent. And he's gonna come though. When he comes, I only have the ability to baptize you with water. But when he comes, he's gonna baptize you with Holy Spirit and fire. He is so much greater than I am. He is so much bigger than. That's what John was doing. He was Hallel. He was showing forth. He was saying, hey, I'm not the Messiah. I'm not the one that you should follow like that. Matter of fact, when he comes along, I'm going to have to take a back seat and follow after him, which is why he was so hesitant when Messiah came to him and said, okay, fella, come on, you got to baptize me. And he said, oh, no, I can't. No. I just told these people I'm not even worthy to unloose your sandal. So what makes you, why would I baptize you? No, you should baptize me. And then he says, no, you have to suffer it to be so, that the scriptures might be fulfilled. Because my daddy said you have to do this. You know, daddy said, you have to do this. So since dad said you got to do this, we both better obey him and do what he says. And so he allows himself to be baptized by John. You see. So it comes to the point where you have to understand that when we worship then becomes my total submission of myself to his will, to his ways, his words, to his ideals of how, not his idea. Okay? Not his concept that was dreamed up, his ideal, his belief, the way he believes. How many times have you stopped to compare how you believe with how the Father believes? See, because the Father reveals to us in his word how he believes things ought to be done. The world system believes things ought to be done a different way. But the Father has made clear how he believes things ought to be done. So, at the end of the day, which side will you believe? Because guess what? You behave as you believe. You behave as you believe. You do what you believe is right to do, which is why we cannot decide what is right in our own eyes. Which is why we can't, watch this, which is why we cannot derive our own righteousness, because it becomes self-righteousness. It becomes not that which is pleasing to him. It becomes that which is pleasing to us. And if we're doing that which is pleasing to us, it is very well that what we're doing is maybe pleasing us, but not pleasing him. So at the end of the day, it's all about his pleasure being fulfilled. When vanity itself is all about pleasure. All about pleasure itself. What do you mean vanity being pleasure of yourself? For the accolades of the people. For limelight, for notoriety. Now, watch this. Will the Father honor and allow you to experience? Absolutely. Right? But if my quest is for notoriety and respect, several times in the scriptures you see that there was a fame that spread forth of Yeshua, but he did not do what he did to be famous. It's not what he did it for. Okay? That was not the thrust. The thrust of my life is supposed to be to glorify the Father in holiness and in sanctification. And then however he blesses me to live a life and he allows me to have a platform, that platform too is submitted to my quest to glorify him. Because see, if I'm all about glorifying me, then he'll let me do whatever I need to do to glorify me. But if I'm going to glorify him, then watch this. If I put him forth, come on. What was that word? If I put him forth, if I put him forth, if I honor him, if I glorify him, if I put him forth, then whatever I do toward him, he in turn favors me and allows me then to be put forth. Okay, which turns me into what Yeshua says when he says, "You are the light of the world, you are the salt of the earth, a city set up on a hill, which cannot be hid." In other words, I am showing you off. And I told you before, what that really means is he was saying, I'm creating a situation to be envied. I wish I could, beautiful situation. I'm creating a situation to be envied. I wish I could show you the picture of what he's really saying. See, because you're his bride. Okay? I don't want to get too deep into it. We're his bride. Okay? We're his bride, espoused to him. We're his bride. Okay? Espoused to him. Waiting for our wedding. So all he's trying to do is, I told y'all last time, say yes to the dress. He's just trying to adorn y'all. Just trying to get you ready. Just trying to get you said, this is what I like right here. This is how I like you to present yourself. Okay? Now, turn to Exodus 28. And I'm going to go ahead and close the case for the day. We got some more to talk about. Okay. So, we'll go to Exodus 28, and then we'll go to 1 Peter 3, okay? And we'll end off in 1 Peter 3 today. Exodus 28. All right? Look at Exodus 28. Wow. Exodus 28. And look at verse number 1. Okay, you are to summon your brother Aharon and his sons to come from among the people of Israel to you, so they can serve me as Kohen or as priest. Aharon and his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, Itamar, you are to make for your brother Aharon, watch this, garments set apart for serving God, serving the Most High, expressing dignity and what? Splendor. Beauty, splendor. Okay? Speak to the craftsmen to whom I have given the spirit of wisdom. So he said, I made them creative. I've given the spirit of wisdom and have them make Aharon's garments to set him apart for me, so that he can serve me in the office of Kohen. And then he goes down into the description of those garments. Right? Now, y'all remember, again, let's make this reference. You are a royal priesthood. Okay? So, when you look at the reference of the pattern that was set by the priesthood, is that the priesthood was, the priests were given garments, okay, that they wore that set them apart from the rest of Israel. The garments that they wore, the robes and stuff that they wore for the service, that when they were going to get ready to go into service, they wore these garments. Okay? And these garments were beautiful garments. They were attractive garments. They were very, very attractive and beautiful garments. But whose idea were these garments? He gave these idea for these garments. He even said, go ahead and talk to the people. I gave them wisdom to be able to create them.
Amen. That's good.
I gave them wisdom to be able to create these beautiful garments for Aharon and for his sons to wear that represents the office of the priesthood that they function in and sets them apart from the rest of Israel in their function. Okay? This is why we have a perversion of garments.
Yeah.
You understand? This is exactly why there is a perversion of garments. I took a lot of time studying and looking at different vestments and different garments and where they actually came from. And there is a system that has modeled the perversion of these garments. Okay? Because at no point in time when you read about the garment does he tell Aharon and them to get all caught up in their garments.
Amen.
You see what I'm saying? To be all flashy. with their garment. They were beautiful. They were probably some of the most beautiful garments that different from the rest of the people were wearing.
Amen.
Beautiful garment, royal looking garments. They had all of these precious stones on them. The same, watch this and check this out. The same way, if you read the description of what Lucifer's personage looked like, it is the same stuff that the high priest was wearing. Okay? So the reality is that, we replaced him. He would not do his function in his proper job as Hallel to Hallelujah. He wouldn't function in his proper place. So we've been created to worship him.
Amen.
Okay? Why do you think he came in the garden and tried to pervert that?
Wow.
Because he tried to get y'all to do the same thing he did. Because he knows that when you do what he did, it always gets you cast out. And what did it get them? Cast out.
Cast out. That's right. Wow.
It's the reality, y'all. So guess what happens? If ever the thing that has been given to me, I become prideful and arrogant, and I start to forget that this is something that is a privilege that has been given to me, and I start to get beside myself and begin prideful, begin arrogant, and begin to take glory instead of giving glory.
Cast out.
Then I cast out. That's how it works. So when you understand that the garment that they wore, watch this, the way they were supposed to wear it, they were supposed to wear it with a sense of responsibility. The garment that they wear, the reason it set them apart was because the garment was to remind them of the responsibility that they had to function as sanctified priests among the people. That when people see y'all, they're supposed to be seeing the reflection, the resemblance of me. This is why Messiah said, I don't do anything. Okay? I do nothing that I did not pretty much receive order. Whatever my Father bid me do, that I do. Whatever he bid me say, that I say. Because I'm supposed to do this. Now, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do your will. Okay? So this is what he says. He says this is how we're supposed to function. The priest, royal priesthood, us, the priesthood function that we see here, which is why, y'all, we also are given garments. We also given garments. Okay? Now, when you think about these garments, okay, these garments are described later on in the renewed covenant as the whole armor of the Most High. Okay? This is exactly what the breastplate of righteousness. Righteousness is the thing that helps me to discern, to decipher between what is right and wrong, what is evil, what is good, what is not correct, what is correct, what is holy, what is unholy, what is clean, what is unclean. Because whenever the priest would go before the Father with that breastplate on, if he would go, it's called the Ummah and Thummah, when he would go before him and he was inquiring of him, according for the people of Israel, he was inquiring of him, what would happen is that thing would illuminate in certain ways where he would receive the wisdom of the Father to know how he was supposed to do whatever he was supposed to do among the people. Watch this. It came where there was 2 onyx stones that were upon each corner of the breastplate, that upon the shoulder of that priest, okay, of the high priest, and the shoulder upon that priest, there would be a stone with 6 of the tribes here, a stone with 6 of the tribes here. Heavy, weighted it was. Because again, it was a weighted, heavy garment because it reminded the priest of his responsibility. You have a heavy responsibility. the Messiah areas of the temple, outer court, inner court, holy was the Holy of Holies. So watch this. The closer you got to the Holy of Holies, the more beautiful everything was. You know what the outer court was? The outer court was something that you get in there and the priest had to wash himself in the little golden basin, to wash himself, to, purify himself from his sins before he even went into the sanctuary. He goes into the sanctuary, you get in there, there's a table of showbread, an altar of incense. You got all these beautiful things in here, all kinds of gold, overlaid, all kind of stuff, all these jewels. You see this big old curtain with all this beautiful stuff that looks like the garment that the priests wear. And then you get into the Holy of Holies and all these beautiful, beautiful ark and everything. The closer you got to the Holy of Holies, the more beautiful everything was. The more attractive everything was. Listen, this is what holiness is supposed to do. Holiness beautifies. There's one passage that says he will beautify the meek, those who are lowly, those who will fall down flat with salvation. Man, so beautiful. 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 3. And I have to deal with this, but I don't have time to deal with it today like I want to. So in the next part of this discussion, we're going to start right here in 1 Peter chapter 3. In case I need to be reminded, y'all remember that for me, okay? 1 Peter chapter 3. Look at verse 1. In the same way, wives, submit to your husbands, so that even if some of them who do not believe the word, they will be won over by your conduct. Man, I wish I had time to deal with this. Without your saying anything, as they see your respect and pure behavior. Y'all, we got to have, the reason why we got to have to talk about these things is because the ways and the ideas and the concepts of the world have creeped in to the way we even handle our relationships. And I'm not just talking about our marriage relationships. It's crept into how we handle our relationships with our children. It's crept into how we handle our relationships with our brothers and sisters. It's crept in definitely into how we handle our marital relationship. Because then we miss the whole essence of what it is. I heard this one couple say something that I think was so profound, that marriage, even marriage between the husband and the wife, is more than just about having somebody to romance and having somebody to love. For us, it is. It's more than that. Okay? First of all, you're doing something that was made honorable. Is that word honor again? That was made honorable, holy, sanctified before the Father, which is why the only way it can be entered in is by the way he described for it to be. Because anything that he has said as a pattern can never be altered.
Amen. Wow.
So he set the pattern and he said, this is what I want. I want there to be a man and I want there to be a woman, and I want them to join together as one. Okay? Watch this. Without the help or assistance of any other external source. I want them to join together as one. And I want them to unify. And I want them to operate in covenant. Okay? They operate and they function in covenant. And then I want them to be fruitful and multiply. In other words, I want them to reproduce. Because the way everything in creation, let's go back to that. It's a pattern. Everything in creation produces after its kind. Everything in nature is brought in some sort of a relationship with that which is its kind and then produces after its kind. Okay? So this is why monkeys can't produce people. And people don't still produce monkeys. Because the pattern has already been set that everything in creation produces after its kind.
That's right.
Okay? So we never did evolve out of something else. We were made the way we are. And then what was produced then was that which was after his kind. Even the Father produces after his kind.
Amen.
Okay? Amen. So we understand that. That was his pattern. So he says, when you're dealing with this, if you're reading the context of all the stuff he was talking here, he said, your conduct is supposed to say something beyond what comes out of your mouth. Because truth is truthfully, y'all. Now, there's no scripture that says actions speak louder than words, But it's very clear. Actions speak louder than words. Your behavior. Watch this. Matter of fact, in a lot of places, when the scriptures are talking about behavior, it uses the word conversation.
Amen.
That they may be won by your chaste conversation. That is your behavior. You say something and you speak a lot in the way you act, in the way you behave. What if, just what if, all over the kingdom, I'm going to have to do another Facebook Live on this. What if across the kingdom, I'm talking about those who belong to, what if every relationship modeled the Father's ideal of relationship? What if we all treated each other in a manner that glorified? What if we all did? Because there's specific instructions in here on how to treat everybody, how to treat a stranger, how to treat a sojourner, somebody who's just traveling, passing through. There's a way. I believe that the people that the Father has made are some of the most hospitable people on the planet. We're not ignorant. We're not weird, but I believe we're hospitable. We're not selfish. Okay, so then let's see. Without you saying a word, in verse 2. As they see your respectful and pure behavior. Watch this. Your beauty should not consist in the external, such as fancy hairstyles, with the imperishable quality of but with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit. In God's sight, this is of great value. This is how the holy women of the past, who put their hope in God, used to adorn themselves, watch this, and submit to their husbands, the way Sarah obeyed Abraham, honoring him as her Lord. That doesn't mean supreme ruler. That doesn't mean that. You are her daughters if you do what is right and do not succumb to fear. Likewise, you husbands, conduct your married lives with understanding. Although your wife may be weaker physically, you should respect her, watch this, as a fellow heir of the gift of life. If you don't, your prayers will be blocked. Finally, all of you be in one mind and feeling, love as brothers, and be compassionate and humble-minded, not repaying evil with evil or insult with insult, but on the contrary with blessing. What? Pay insult back with blessing? For it is so this that you have been called, so you may receive a blessing. For whatever wants to love life and see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Turn from evil and do good. So he's making reference to an instruction that we've been given in Torah. He says, if you're going to have a good days, you're going to have good life, then you've got to learn how to keep this mouth. And watch this, to teach yourself to speak blessing instead of cursing. Even when insult is railed at you, you don't rail insult back. Wow. Even when charge is laid at you, you don't lay charge back. I can actually prove it to you. I ain't going to make it good today, but I can actually prove it to you that if you learn how to just speak blessing, that's why he tells you to bless those who curse you. Okay? That's why he tells you to do it. He said, because what you don't understand is, if you speak a blessing, and the place or the individual that you spoke the blessing to, okay, does not meet the standard or the qualification of blessing, that blessing returns to you.
Amen.
That's why you pray for your enemies.
Amen.
That's why you do it.
Amen.
Because out of your mouth does not proceed both blessing and cursing. Bitter sweet water does not flow from the same fountain. What you are is to be a fountain of life and understand that your words are powerful. And so whenever someone is speaking curse toward you, whenever someone is speaking insult toward you, whenever they're saying things, all kind of manner of evil against you, you don't retaliate. People who walk in pureness and beauty of holiness, we do not retaliate. Because we don't care about saving face. I don't care about what somebody... Why do I care that the world thinks I look like a coward? Why do I care? At the end of the day, that's what you think. I've been told before, I never allow myself to be pushed in something because of what somebody else was going to think I look like. Just because you got a problem with the way you think, does that mean I'm supposed to curtail my behavior based on the way you think? So if you think I look like a coward, it doesn't matter. All I care about is what do I look like before him? There have been many things that I've had to handle in a way with wisdom where things were, I'm serious. Where things were insults, were hurled at me. I'm talking about even people standing up in the message and supposed to be preaching, but they're throwing out accusation and insult. I mean, directed toward me. But I didn't retaliate because I realized that I represent more than just me. I represent the Father. So I had to handle things in a way that would glorify Him. And I couldn't handle things the way the world handles, or handle things the way people in their carnality who say you should handle. Because there's a lot of people who even refer to themselves as believers who still operate in carnality. Watch this. If it is in direct violation of His instructions as to how I'm supposed to treat people, how I'm supposed to treat myself, and how I'm supposed to treat Him, there is no justification for it. None. And I tell my children, I say to them, 2 wrongs don't do what? Make a right. Because what happens, that's why He tells you to forgive people. Because what happens is, if you forgive and you release, one, you have to understand whatever you don't release, you will become.
Amen. That's true.
You will become that you can't get rid of. And eventually you will become the thing you hate so much in somebody else because you can't release them from it. You have now been a receptor of the seed of that thing. And it is now producing in you. So now you are doing to others what you hated to be done to you. Because you can't let them go for what they did. Holiness is very protective of us. That's why it's so beautiful. You know why it's so beautiful? You know what makes it beautiful? It's perfect. Please nothing out. Please no stone unturned. See what I'm saying? In our carnality, this is difficult. But if we're led by His Spirit and we live according to His Spirit, it's not difficult. Our concept of what He says makes things difficult. But if we realize and we have made up in our mind and our heart, because according to the scriptures, if I'm here and here, I'm double-minded. Okay? And if I'm double-minded, then I'm unstable in everything I do, in all of my ways. But this is why He says, this is why He doesn't say that there's going to be ways. That should be called the ways of holiness. There is a highway and a way, and it should be called the way of holiness. So the way He wants me to do this is the way I'm going to do it. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that we really need to have these discussions about, to bring people back to holiness. I'm not going to go into the specifics and talk to you. If I talk to you about what you're wearing, but I don't influence the condition of your heart, you may not wear that around me.
That's true. That is true.
But you're still going to wear it.
That's true.
You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't benefit me. Unless the condition of your heart changes, your behavior is not going to change. It's not going to change. The core of what you do, unless the core of who you are changes, or the core of the way you see things changes, it's not going to change what you do. So the reach for the Father is at our hearts. That's why He's not spending all His time with a superficial thing. Let me go to the root of it.
Amen.
Okay? Let's go to the root. Let's go deal in this heart right here. You know, how much more effective could we be if we approach, let's say the young lady and she's scantily dressed. How much more effective could we be if we approached her in the manner in which the Father approaches us? With love and kindness have I drawn you. That he approaches us with our nasty, dirty self. And him and all of his holiness and perfection and splendor. The fact that he even spoke to me. Okay? That's number one. We can never ever go to an individual seeing ourselves as above them. We always have to approach people to the place where, if not for him, there go I. That's the reality. Because if you're only one decision away from being anybody you meet. That's it. So if not but for him, if not but for him giving me this graciousness and giving me, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to walk in, to even know what holiness is. Because now when I approach an individual, not as if holiness is my thing. I now am coming, watch this, as one who would be where you are, making a presentation to you, something that is so beautiful that has influenced me. Now I want to say to you, you know, instead of, look at you, it's a shame, you got that skirt on. Look, this skirt is too short. You just look so terrible in that skirt. You just look like some kind of prostitute. What's wrong with you? So that's that self-righteous stuff. We approach people, even people who are not understanding of certain things. When we approach them with the right heart and with the right attitude, watch this, and with the right altitude, which means I come to you, brother to brother, sister, or I come to you on the same level, saying to you, hey, how many young ladies would probably change their mind about what they're doing if somebody walked up to, instead of getting onto them about what they have on and saying, can I talk to you for a minute? What makes you feel like you have to dress like that? Why do you feel like you have to show off yourself to get that kind of attention? You know? I like to talk to you a little bit. I like to help you along. I like to show you some things, you know, just kind of help you. You know? That makes a whole difference. The approach makes a whole difference. I'm telling you, holiness affects more than our external. It deals deeply here. And if I deal deeply here and I get here right, everything that's around here will be right. Okay, y'all, I can't go on one time. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you that the entrance of your word gives light, understanding to the simple. We appreciate you, Father, for all that you are to us, all that you do in us. We love you so much. Thank you for giving us the gift called the beauty of holiness. And thank you for teaching us and instructing us in these things so that we can be that is pleasing to you. In the name of our Messiah, we pray. Amen. Now we receive the blessing so much from you, Father. Thank you for blessing us and keeping us and making your face to shine upon us, being gracious to us, giving us your shalom and putting your name upon us, your people, and blessing us. We go today in your care and comfort in Yeshua. Amen.
Take up the offering real quick. We're just going to take up the offering really quick.